Hey everybody, how are you doing today? It is the 7th of January 2022. I nearly said 2021. So yeah, I'm gonna have to get my game face on for 2022. It's hard to believe that 2022 is here and it's well underway. We're gonna blink and it's gonna be Christmas of 2022. Man, time flies when you are having fun as we are in the e-commerce, digital, retail, tech, and omni-channel world. It's good times. It's good times to be in our space. Absolutely love it. Can't imagine doing anything else. I just got off of an interview, a new interview for the At the Coalface podcast with Zykata and the team over at Zykata, and had an absolutely blinder of an interview. Learned lots, shared lots, and can't wait for that episode to come out at the end of February. I've got a whole bunch of really, really cool podcast episodes in the pipe over the next 8 to 12 weeks for you. So if you haven't subscribed to the podcast, definitely do so, because otherwise you are absolutely missing out. So definitely go and check out At the Coalface. I think you'll really enjoy it. If you're not subscribed to the At the Coalface Digest, definitely go and check that out. I think you'll enjoy that as well. For At the Coalface Digest, I come out with a monthly newsletter with a roundup of all the pertinent e-commerce, omni-channel, retail, tech, and digital news. I pull out some deep, deep insights for every single one of those pieces of news. I add my commentary, my thoughts, my deep knowledge and experience of the e-commerce and omni-channel world over the last 20 plus years. I layer that on top and I give you some inside knowledge. So there's some inside knowledge that I have that I cannot share on any open channels, but I can share in my e-commerce newsletter. So go and check that out. Hopefully you get something out of it. I love the fact that my newsletter subscribers get sort of inside the head of Jason Greenwood, which is quite scary in some respects, but they do get to get inside my head, and they get to see, I guess, some of the news and the insights and the challenges that we face as an industry through my lens. And hopefully that brings some new insights and some new thoughts and some new perspectives to the industry that we don't always get. Now, when it comes to the news of the week, that's what I love to cover at the Coalface Live. And it's interesting because I had thought about discontinuing the live, because when we look at the algorithm for things like LinkedIn, when we think of the algorithm for Facebook, when we look at the algorithm for YouTube, live just doesn't get a lot of love. In fact, according to the latest algorithm news out of LinkedIn, it is probably the lowest engagement method of putting out content on the platform, which is quite interesting considering the fact that if you go back 12 to 18 months ago, LinkedIn Live, you had to actually queue up, you had to apply to get access to LinkedIn Live. And I would have thought that as a result of that difficulty of getting access to LinkedIn Live, they would vig it from an engagement perspective and from an exposure perspective. They would vig it higher than any other form of content on LinkedIn. And it's actually now, based on research from lots and lots of people, all you got to do is Google LinkedIn algorithm 2021, and you'll be able to see lots of posts, lots of articles about this from some major researchers around the world that have done some testing based on image posts, based on pure text posts, based on video posts, based on live posts. And what was originally, when LinkedIn originally had its stories, it was getting vigged pretty hard, and I actually had good engagement on my stories. Whereas now, what's quite interesting is that the humble text post still manages to get the best engagement of any posts that I do. And if I look across my Shield app data across my analytics for LinkedIn over the last 12 months, pretty much all of my top 10 posts over the last 12 months have been pure text posts. They've had maybe one, maybe two emojis in them. They've had no hashtags, so hashtag no hashtags for LinkedIn, and they've gotten the most love of any posts on LinkedIn. So no images, no video, plain text, maybe one or two emojis, and no hashtags. And those are almost universally my top 10 posts of 2021 have consisted of that type of content. So it just goes to show that whilst you might stand out using those other forms of content on LinkedIn in terms of exposure, in terms of what LinkedIn is actually vigging across their platform, plain text posts with not a lot else in them seem to be doing the best. In fact, if I look at my content from the 1st to the 7th of January 2022, I have one of my plain text posts that has no image, no video, no hashtags, and is 5 lines long. That is my best performing post so far in the first 7 days of January 2022, and it's got nearly 20,000 views. So make of that what you will. I don't know how to explain it. The LinkedIn algorithm has me flummoxed at the best of times, and they seem to be changing it almost on the daily. And if you mention absolutely anything about the V, you will get demoted and most likely get banned off the platform. So I just have no idea what LinkedIn is doing. It's really, really hard to gauge what will do well and what won't do well on LinkedIn anymore. But one thing I can say for sure, that the organic reach on LinkedIn is still amongst the best of all of the social media platforms. And if you want to get traction quickly on a platform, LinkedIn and TikTok are the 2 places to absolutely do it. So I'm focusing on LinkedIn. I'm focusing on TikTok. I'm having a great time. Having a great time with the podcast. Having a great time with the live. And I do the live to keep me sharp. I do the live to make sure that I'm focusing on keeping the ums and the ahs out of the conversation. I'm doing the live to make sure that I have the direct connection to you guys. And I'm doing the live because I actually love doing it every single Friday. It forces me to stay up with the latest news, forces me to put it into a context that actually makes sense, and forces me to have consistency in my life. And consistency and rigor and commitment are actually really important things to me. And I really do actually look forward to being with you every single Friday. And despite the fact that this reach, I'll probably only get, I'll get less than 200 views on every live broadcast that I do on LinkedIn, despite the fact that I'm religiously here, turning up every single Friday. Don't feel sorry for me. Don't cry for me. I'm doing this for me first, and I'm doing it for you second. So I still love doing it. I still love the fact that it keeps me on my toes. I still love the fact that it forces me to prepare. I still love the fact that it carves out an hour to 2 hours of every single Friday for me to get my game face on to be here with you every single Friday. So let me jump straight into news. As per usual, if you've got any questions or commentary, put it into LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube live, and I will come back to those at the end of the news of the day. Hope you all have had a fantastic Christmas. Happy New Year. Ready to kill and slay 2022. So we'll get into retailer news first. And the first news of the day, it comes out of meal delivery business My Foodie Box. It joins the ASX, which is the Australian Stock Exchange. It joins it on Friday, internet retailing, so today. Perth-owned and operated meal delivery business My Foodie Box is launching on the ASX after a $6 million IPO on Friday, the 7th of January, today in New Zealand and Australia. The business, which delivers locally sourced meal kits to Western Australia households, is now aiming to bring its offering across all of Australia and saw large investment from Thermomix owner Magnet Investments. Thermomix, if you don't know, one of the most famous blender manufacturers on the planet. Most blenders cannot take boiling soup, boiling water. Thermomix is unique in that not only can it take boiling components, but it actually has a heating unit in the bottom. I've been a big fan of Thermomix. I don't own a Thermomix, but I know about the benefits of Thermomix. So it's quite interesting that they've bought this food bag business trying to diversify. Very interesting. And they say through our exceptionally strong meal kit offering and our deployment of technology, My Foodie Box is a highly scalable business that entered the Australian market at the right time, said Chief Executive, and I'm sure I'm butchering this, Parisrat Hughes. And it's spelled Parisart Hughes. We're very pleased with the significant investment interest we have received today, which will enable us to further accelerate our strategic plans. 2022 promises to be another massive year for My Foodie Box. My Foodie Box, which is interesting that they've called it My Foodie Box, considering that there are plenty other food box delivery type businesses, recipe businesses called My Food Box, My Food Bag, etc. And they've called themselves My Foodie Box. Very interesting. And they say that they initially began trading in January of 2019, which is very, very late in the food box space because these guys have been around for 10, 15 years. Sources ingredients from local, ethically responsible farmers and producers in the form of meal kits. In addition, My Foodie Box allows customers to add staple pantry items such as milk, eggs, olive oil, etc. to their delivery, negating some of the need to perform a regular shop alongside their meal kit delivery. So good on meal delivery business. My Foodie Box lands on the ASX. Even as some of the other major brands, such as Kogan, drop off of the ASX. So let's just think about investor interest in some of these moves. I think at a meta level, at a macro level, we can look at the short-term, investments as a voting machine, long-term investments as a weighing machine. So let's just see how this all plays out. Next bit of news from retail is Nike sues Lululemon over Mirror Home Gym, and this is out of Reuters. Nike on Wednesday filed a lawsuit against Lululemon Athletica of patent infringement for making and selling the Mirror Home Gym and related mobile apps without authorization. In a complaint filed in the U.S. District Court of Manhattan, Nike accused its smaller rival of infringing 6 patents, including through technology that enables users to target specific levels of exertion, compete with other users, and record their own performance. Now, what I find interesting about this is you can think of Fitbit, you can think of any of the Google technologies, you can think even of some of the Facebook technologies as being able to do a lot of these functions. I don't think it should be okay for any major power player such as Nike to be able to corner the market on such generic technologies, such generic patents, such as tracking level of exertion, competing with other users, and recording their own performance. I mean, hell, almost every single self-health monitoring device in the history of self-health monitoring devices has been able to support this and allow this. So I'm not quite sure what Nike's game plan is here, but hopefully they lose, because I think that if Lululemon loses, then we all lose. Nike, based in Beaverton, Oregon, is seeking triple damages for Lululemon's alleged willful infringement and a variety of other remedies. Mirror Gym starts at $1,195, according to Lululemon. Lululemon said in a statement that the patents in question are overly broad and well, good, there we go. Hadn't even read this yet, but pretty much exactly as I said, Lululemon is claiming the exact same thing. The patents in question are overly broad and invalid. We are confident in our position and look forward to defending it in court. In December 10th, a letter to Nike, a lawyer for Lululemon said that the Vancouver, British Columbia-based company respects intellectual property even as it rejected Nike's claims. Lululemon brought Mirror, an at-home fitness company with an interactive workout platform. So they bought this company for about $453 million in July of 2020, which I talked about at that time as being a very, very smart play, moving out of the product into the services area and then being able to incorporate that services experience directly in-store in an omni-channel way. So if you go back and you look at some of my content from around the July 2020 across Facebook, LinkedIn, and the rest, you'll see that I talked extensively about this purchase at the time. Lululemon warned last month that the spread of the Omicron coronavirus variant could reduce sales of its apparel because of supply chain issues and potential store closures. The case is Nike Inc. versus Lululemon Athletica in the U.S. District Court of Southern District of New York, number 22-00082. So we'll all be watching this with interest. I think if Lululemon loses, we all lose. But let's just watch the space. Nike has unlimited deep pockets, but then Lululemon is no slouch, and I don't think they'll go into the night quietly on this one. So good luck to both parties, and let's just see where this one lands. Now, next piece of retail news. P&G Beauty joins the metaverse with Beauty Sphere out of Charge Retail. P&G Beauty has made its first foray into the metaverse, debuting its virtual storytelling world called Beauty Sphere at the Consumer Electronics Show CES, which just happened. Beauty Sphere allows visitors to virtually interact with P&G Beauty's portfolio of brands, including Olay and Pantene, through live and simulated content. The Beauty Sphere 3D interactive experience can be easily accessed via desktop computer at beautysphere.com. Through immersive video content, panel discussions, and gamified challenges, visitors can learn about the interconnected, responsible beauty principles of sustainability, safety, transparency, quality, and performance, and quality, inclusion, and well-being. Oh my God, that is such a friggin' mouthful. It's difficult to read and even more difficult to comprehend. I guess if you go to beautysphere.com, which I haven't yet, you'll be able to find out. Now, what I find interesting about this is that most of the metaverse experiences that I've checked out so far have been pretty bland. Basically, unless you have 3D goggles, 3D glasses, unless you have full VR kit, you will get a pretty 2D experience. And to be honest with you, even in 3D, most of these stores within stores or stores within the metaverse experience has been pretty average. I actually haven't been that impressed. They basically replicated physical stores in the metaverse, and the metaverse is so much more. The things that you can create in the metaverse from a creative perspective are almost unlimited, and I see retail brands just doing it so badly. I liken it to physical retail brands doing physical retail super, super badly, and then carrying those super terrible physical experiences into the digital realm and just replicating them in a digital way. So I think it's going to take a couple of years. I think it's going to take a few years for these physically strong brands to translate into unlimited metaverse type of experiences where the immersive aspects of the metaverse are yet to be plumbed, are yet to be explored in full detail. Now, what's interesting is Kathy Hackle, spelled Chathykl. I've been following her for years. She's been into the metaverse or been into VR for years. She's a futurist. I've watched a lot of her content. I've seen a lot of her content over the last decade. She does a lot of breaking news. She breaks a lot of news, particularly around the XR space, so virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, and she seems to get the cut before everybody else. And she says, during upcoming panel events at the CES this week, more will be revealed about Beauty Sphere via conversations with Twitch streamer Kelsey. Again, I'm probably butchering this. Impachichi and metaverse expert Kathy Hackle, who advised P&G on their strategy for Beauty Sphere. So let's see how this one plays out. Now we'll move on to e-commerce, omnichannel platform, and tech news. Nosto has acquired SearchNode, adding e-commerce search to its commerce experience platform. Now, if you haven't checked it out, you need to go out and check out my interview with Jim from Nosto, CEO, and go and check that out, because I love Nosto. I've worked with Nosto for many years. I've implemented a few times. I've spec'd it into quite a few projects, and I love what they do. And they've acquired, so they're a search and merch platform, although historically they've just been a merch and product recommendations platform, although one of the best in the world, and AI driven, and they do some really, really cool stuff. But they have only been one piece of the search and merch platform. They've been the merch platform, and now they are clearly wanting to branch out. They clearly want to expand. They clearly want to be a player in the search and merch space, and this acquisition will allow them to do that. Now, interestingly, prior to this article, or prior to this announcement, actually, this came out in Retail Dive, but I've seen it. I actually saw it from Jim himself, announced on LinkedIn, and I saw it through all of the major digital press. I saw this announcement being made, but the actual article that I'm referring to came from Retail Dive. Now, what's interesting about this, prior to this announcement, I had actually never ever heard of SearchNode. I've heard of every major site search platform, common ones. I've heard of them all. I've implemented most of them. I understand all of them. And it's quite interesting to hear that Nosto has acquired a technology that I've never heard of before. So good on them. And hopefully this helps them build out their technology, helps them build out their brand. And what they said here was that Nosto, an AI-powered commerce experience platform, announced that it has acquired SearchNode, a global cloud-based e-commerce search technology company. This transaction marks the second acquisition for Nosto after completing the acquisition of Stackla Visual UGC in May of 2021, which I actually talked extensively about at the time. Now, what was interesting about this is my interview with Jim from Nosto came out just before the Stackla acquisition announcement, and they are clearly on the warpath here. They're gobbling up smaller players and doing a really, really good job of expanding their brand around the world. So good job. It says the strategic acquisition of SearchNode's award-winning search technology will allow Nosto clients to implement site-wide personalization, merchandising, segmentation, and testing strategies natively to optimize the entire shopping journey. I have no doubt that they'll either do a two-way integration, whether that be Nosto integrates SearchNode or SearchNode integrates Nosto. Be interesting to see whether SearchNode lives on as its own unique brand or whether it's just sort of absorbed into the Borg of Nosto. But no doubt, site search and merch are becoming increasingly important to retailers of all kinds. So good job, Jim and the Nosto team. Congratulations and good luck with the absorption of those guys. Now, next piece of Omni news is that how Shopify retail is moving closer to bricks and mortar retail. This comes from Charged Retail. Shopify is edging closer to bricks and mortar after leaked documents show that it has filed a patent for a system of sensors that can measure traffic from retail in store. The application is further evidence the company is looking to go head-to-head with e-commerce giant Amazon, which has expanded its bricks and mortar footprint exponentially over the last 12 months. Now, what's interesting about this is if you look at Amazon, and you look at AWS Cognito, and you look at AWS Cognito's ability to track a consumer based on a number of PII, personally identifying information, whether that be name, whether that be email, whether that be cell phone number, whether that be social media account. When we look at that, and when we look at its ability to track people's physical attributes so they can be recognized in store clearly, Shopify sees the threat that this, when we think about biometrics and when we think of what Amazon is doing in the biometric space, it absolutely makes sense that Shopify sees them as threat and is looking to bring and merge bricks and mortar retail with digital. When we think about, Shopify Pause, and when we think about some of the things that Shopify is doing in the physical retail space, it absolutely makes sense that they would want to capture a larger share of the physical retail experience as part of the overall Shopify experience. And I have absolutely no doubt, Shopify's done big things in the NFT space. They announced a few months ago that they were going to allow the selling and supporting of NFTs in the platform. Now, as I talked about last week, they are now minting on the platform of NFTs. So clearly they're getting it heavily into the metaverse, and they're getting heavily into physical retail, which absolutely makes sense. When you're a multi-billion-dollar company like Shopify, you have to see where the puck is going, not where it is today. And it says that the file patent appears similar to the same Just Walk Out tech that Amazon has deployed across its grocery stores in the UK. So Shopify clearly wanting to get into the Just Walk Out type of space. It was filed, apparently the patent was filed with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office on May 25th, 2020, and published November 25th, 2021, and describes a system of sensors that is able to measure the density and behavior of shoppers in specific areas of a retail store. Now, I don't know whether this is through NFC. It's not really clear about whether it's going to use mobile devices, cell phone numbers. It's not really clear what this is going to do, but clearly Shopify wants to get in on the physical retail game. Makes absolute sense, and good luck to Shopify. They are doing a great job in digital and e-commerce and omni-channel. So let's just see how they go in physical retail. Now, from a social media perspective, Twitter wants you to retweet with TikTok-like reaction videos. This comes from TechCrunch. Everybody wants a little of that TikTok magic. To that end, Twitter is rolling out a new test feature that invites people to post video reactions to tweets instead of, quote, tweeting the old-fashioned way. It's a very un-Twitter-like choice, but the company has been actively experimenting with new products for a while now, including the now retired disappearing tweets known as fleets. The test is limited to iOS for now and lets users opt to quote tweet with reaction. Right from the retweet menu, Twitter's calling these reactions vids, tweet takes, and they play with the tweet embedded, which is fun if entirely derivative of TikTok's own video replies. TechCrunch reached out to Twitter to hear more about how wide the test is and how likely tweet takes are to make it into the final product. Twitter says it's only running the test with a small subset of iOS users. I'm an iOS user. I'm a Twitter user. I haven't seen it yet. So let's just see how this goes out. Maybe I'm just not part of the Twitterati, and maybe I just didn't make the cut to get this function inside my Twitter experience as of today. Now, that makes complete sense, considering the fact that Twitter is nowhere in Australia and New Zealand. It's massive in America. It's massive in Japan, and pretty much nowhere everywhere else. If you look at the Twitter breakdown of users and user locations over the last 24 months, America tops the list, followed by Japan, and then everybody else falls off the cliff very, very rapidly. Twitter, for all of its winnings and all of its lead in social commerce and social media around the world, just can't seem to break out of that North America-centric experience. Now, if we look at financial news, Authentic Brands forfeits its IPO plan after private deal. And this comes from Inside Retail. Authentic Brands has dropped its bid to go public just 3 months after it sold a stake of its business to private equity firm CVC Capital Partners and HPS Investment Partners. The deal was made in November, closed in December, and valued Authentic Brands at US $12.7 billion. Oh my God, that is a massive, massive valuation. According to Reuters, the business has not yet specified why it forfeited its aspirations to list on the New York Stock Exchange, which it first revealed last July. Authentic Brands owns over 30 brands, including Forever 21, Van Heusen, Volcom, and holds a retail portfolio spanning the luxury, specialty, and department store spaces. And also, what's interesting about this, I believe, I could be wrong, don't hold me to task on this, but I believe that Authentic Brands bought a controlling share in Culture Kings out of Australia as well. Again, I could be wrong, but I believe that Authentic Brands did buy a controlling share in Culture Kings out of Australia. But let's just see. I could be wrong. I'll have to look into that. But anyways, retail spending continues to climb after strong Christmas out of Inside Retail. New Zealand retail spending in particular remains on the rise after strong growth during the pre-Christmas period, lifting spending for the period above levels seen in the past 2 years. Oh my God. Wow. We didn't see many people in the retail stores. Of course, those of us that were unvaxxed couldn't go into many retail stores, but those of us that could just visit and trawl through the malls. Malls were busy, but not insanely busy. It says, according to Worldline New Zealand, spending through retail merchants in its network reached $696 million over the 7 days ending in January 4th, up 7% year on year and 13% on the pre-COVID levels. Now, many brands warned that this year would be worse than other years because of the uncertainty around being able to physically visit stores as well as shop online. So anyways, what's interesting about this, Worldline New Zealand reported that spending at core retail merchants nationwide in the critical pre-Christmas period of last year was up 6.9% in 2020. showing a strong performance despite lockdowns and travel restrictions across borders around New Zealand's largest city of Auckland. Taranaki accounted for the highest annual spending growth of up 17%. Wow, go Taranaki. Woo, go the Naki. So anyways, fantastic to be with you guys today. Other news, episode 112 of at the Coalface podcast. Go and check that out. Episode 112 dropped, talking how to maximize Amazon e-commerce performance at scale with High Mag from Ava. Go and check that out. Ava is a full spectrum Amazon management platform. If you have a brand or you have brand aspirations on Amazon, you do not want to miss this episode. High was super intelligent, super knowledgeable, shared his wisdom freely with all of us. And it was a fantastic time. I learned a ton, and hopefully you learned a ton as well. So go and check it out. It was amazing to be with you in this first episode of 2022. Again, my God, I can't believe it's 2022. We'll blink and it will be Christmas 2022 all over again. So a fantastic weekend. It was brilliant being with you. Can't wait to be with you again next Friday. Love you guys. Talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.